Greetings, fellow makers! Welcome to the Prop 3D Season 2 wrap-up video. I'm Bill, and today I'm going to be covering some of Season 2, what we accomplished, some of your questions, and what's in store for Season 3. We're marking this as the end of our second season of Prop 3D, so we'll be taking a little bit of a break from the dedicated 3D printing videos, but don't worry, we'll be sneaking some 3D printing into more of our traditional prop and costume making videos in the future. In fact, recently I moved our Dremel and our Ultimaker 3D printers into the shop just below one of my workbenches, and I built an enclosure for them. The hope here is that the printers will both stay dust-free and nice and warm. This is so that I can experiment with other printing filaments like ABS. We accomplished quite a bit in this season, especially considering our first season was only 5 videos. In this season, thanks to the support of you guys and our amazing patrons, we did almost 20 videos, 10 of which were on the Boolean Gemini build. Of course, if you haven't seen that whole build, we've got a playlist for you. You can go check it out and see it all the way from start to finish. We also did a couple of other videos in the 3D printing vein. That includes experimenting with the Form 2 3D printer, some metal casting from Form 2 printed pieces, and we even made a couple of helmets like Reinhardt's helmet and the Commander Holly helmet. These were all a ton of fun, and we're looking forward to the next batch of 3D printing projects. Okay, on to your questions. You guys were very interested to know how much filament I used on the Boolean Gemini. We went through 2 of the Matterhackers Pro PLA 1 kilogram spools. Now, that doesn't mean this weighs 2 kilograms, it's actually less than that. A lot of that filament ended up as support material and was discarded. You guys were also interested to know what software we used. Well, the model was made in Fusion 360. In fact, this was a challenge to myself to learn how to model something this complicated using Fusion 360. For printing, we used Cura and Simplify 3D. Many of you were curious about a comparison between the two. Both are very good software platforms for doing your 3D printing. I will say though, when using a lot of support material, I prefer Simplify 3D. I think it does a better job of printing supports that are easy to remove. You guys were also curious about how long this build took me. Well, I started it in August and it's now January, so about 5 months, but I really only worked on it a couple hours every week. I'm gonna guess maybe, I don't know, 100 or so hours of work time went into it. That includes sanding and filling and painting and more sanding. I also don't know exactly how many hours it took to print this thing, definitely more than 100 for all of the 27 parts. I will say in the future for other projects like this, I'll do a better job of tracking all of those wonderful statistics. Some of you wanted to know what the most challenging part of this build was. I'm gonna go with the lining up of all of my parts and the sanding to make sure that they look like they're all one continuous piece. This larger upper receiver part is made from 3 pieces, and if they don't line up perfectly, then a lot of finishing work had to be done to make them look like one seamless part. One good question you guys gave me was, what would I change on the model if I had to do it again? I think that doing more of that alignment stuff, let's say, well, on this guy, I've modeled in some of the registration so parts would lock together. Some of that worked really well, some of it didn't. I think instead, next time, I'll model holes into parts that need to connect to one another so that those holes line up, and then I will connect them using some sort of pre-existing like peg, like a steel or aluminum rod, let's say. I could just model the holes for those and then put the rods in, and when I glue it together, it should line up perfectly. Again, we'll have to experiment with that more in the next batch of 3D printing videos. One good question from you guys was, what was the largest dimension of one of these printed pieces? This rear part right here of the Boolean Gemini was printed in about 20 hours, I think, and it was 200 millimeters tall. Yes, and it took about 20 hours. So there you go, that was the largest part, 200 millimeters tall, which was a benefit because we used the Ultimaker 2 Plus Extended, the taller guy, and it worked out great. Several of you were interested to see an exploded view of the Boolean Gemini. You want to see all of the 27 pieces, so I am happy to accommodate. The model took me several days to put together, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I like this guy an awful lot. It really expanded what I'm able to do with Fusion 360. Also, on a side note, a bunch of you guys were interested if I will be releasing or selling the files for the Boolean Gemini. Now, I'm not saying I will never give out 3D files or sell 3D files, but in this particular case, I'm gonna keep them tight to the chest. So unfortunately, that's a no. Some of you guys out there were interested to learn more about taking classes on 3D printing and 3D modeling. Now, I know there are a lot of options online to take classes to learn how to use particular software packages like Fusion 360. And I also just recently met the folks over at Mold 3D. They're a company down in LA that does 3D printing and 3D modeling classes. And it looks like they offer some of those classes online, so they're worth checking out. You guys also had a number of really great ideas for future 3D printing videos, including something like me building a prop using completely traditional methods and building the same prop using 3D printing methods. And while I'm not stoked to build the same thing twice, I'll do it for you guys. I'll suffer for my craft. I'll be happy to do it and show off the features of doing it one way versus another. Speaking of season 3 of Prop 3D, here are some things you have to look forward to. You guys want to see props with moving parts? I want to make props with moving parts. We're gonna do some of those. You guys also want to see some foam smithing combined with 3D printing, and while I've already done some of that, like on my Mechanist costume, I would be happy to experiment with that even more. In fact, I think that's where 3D printing can really help benefit the overall look and feel of a costume. It can help augment parts of it that require more detail, where the foam smithing can help bulk out areas where 3D printing might be a little bit less economical. Several of you guys think I should dip my toe into the world of ZBrush and do some more organic sculpts. And while I am really a hard surface modeler, I am again willing to suffer for your enjoyment and education. So we're gonna have to give some of that a try. Finally, you guys really wanna know, especially if you haven't tried 3D printing yourself, what the cost to entry is for this hobby. And this brings me to my final and grandiose plan for season 3 of Prop 3D. I wanna get my hands on the best low-cost 3D printer to put together and start building some projects. This doesn't mean I'm gonna get the cheapest 3D printer. I'd like to balance cost versus quality and try and get the most bang for my buck, so to speak, out of a 3D printer. So we're gonna start investigating 3D printers. I'm gonna talk to my pal Joel, the 3D printing nerd, see what the best machine is. It's probably gonna be a kit that I'll have to put together. Of course, I'm gonna film that for you guys. I'm really terrible at that sort of stuff, so it should be a really good time. And the goal with that is to help you guys get into this hobby with the best chance possible to build the best props possible for the most economic price possible. Price possible. You heard me. So look forward to that and more in the next upcoming season of Prop 3D. So when will Prop 3D Season 3 launch? Well, we're not quite sure yet. We are going to take a little bit of a break. We're just gearing up for convention season right now, but we will be doing a lot of behind the scenes work to get things ready. I already stole a printer from Joel last night, so I can tinker a little bit, try out some new materials. So while we may not have videos coming out right away, know that we are working behind the scenes to get things rolling on the next batch of 3D printing videos. And that's about it for this update. Thank you guys so much for hanging out and hanging with this build over the last few months. I had a lot of fun. This was very satisfying. I've been having a great time hearing from you guys, especially sending me screenshots of the props that you've been making with your 3D printers. Keep them coming. I want to see what you guys are building. I want to see how you're challenging yourselves and learning new skills. Keep being awesome. Keep making incredible things. Keep sending me pictures of those, and we will see you in the next batch of prop and costume making videos. Hey, thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe so you don't miss any of our new weekly prop and costume tutorial videos. For more goodies, head over to our website where you'll find blueprints, tutorial books, articles, and more. We also have a second channel for our Q&A show and extra behind the scenes videos. Thanks again, and happy crafting.